What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan Grove here, Extreme.Outdoorsmen. If you guys are new here to the channel, make sure to go hit that subscribe button for me. Help me at 40,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. But I've been getting a lot of questions lately about my fishing rods, and I figured in today's video I would go over or break down all my setups that I've been using. I've actually been using these Fitzgerald rods for about a couple years now, and I really enjoy fishing these rods. They're incredible rods. I've caught so many big fish around the country on all these Fitzgerald rods, and let me tell you guys, if you're in the market for a new rod or you want to try some new rods out, I highly recommend grabbing yourself one of these. And if you watch today's video, the full video, I'm going to be talking about all the rods and what lures I use and everything on these. So I really appreciate you guys watching today's video. But cool backstory, I've actually been using these rods before I even started working with Fitzgerald. They've actually been around since 2010, so around 15 years. Trevor Fitzgerald actually came out with the brand, and they're super nice rods. But quickly, I'm gonna go over this rod real quick because, like I said, it's a cool backstory. Me and my dad always go down. You guys, if you followed the channel for a little while, me and my dad always go down to Florida to chase after our personal best largemouth bass. It's like one of my favorite trips of the year. And we were going down there. Everybody, all the locals were telling us to get punching rods to punch and all those thick mats down there and lily pads and stuff like that, and we didn't know anything about that. So we figured look up some rods, and we found these Fitzgerald rods, and we actually went to Okeechobee headquarters down there. I think the owner's name is Mike. I'm not sure if the store's there anymore, but that was an awesome store. And we went in there and found these Fitzgerald fishing rods, and we were like, wow, these are crazy. They're like broomsticks, but everyone was telling us to grab some punching rods, so we did. And we actually started to really like these rods. Shout out to my dad. He hooked me up with this rod for Christmas, so you are the best. My dad's awesome, always helping me out in fishing. He's just the best. Miss him a ton, miss fishing with him and everything, but he's always on the road traveling, work. So when he's back in town, always have a ton of fun fishing with him. But this rod right here is actually the Titan HD. It's a 7/8 extra heavy flipping and pitching rod. And I got the 7GF right there. I really like those bait casters, but this rod is incredible, guys. You can do so much with this rod. When I first started doing it was punching creature baits down there in Florida, and it was really fun. I love punching. It's a lot of fun going for big largemouth down there, and this is an awesome rod. You want a really stiff rod. That's why I'm throwing this 7/8 extra heavy down there in Florida. All those mats are super thick. When you set the hook on that fish, you want to have this really heavy rod to be able to pull them out of the weeds. So, and I've caught a lot of fish doing that down there in Florida. I've even used this in Michigan around, flipping around here, catching really big bass. So it's pretty cool. That's a little backstory on how I started using these rods. So they're incredible. But after maybe like 2 years of using this rod, Fitzgerald reached out to me and asked if I'd want to partner up with them. So I was super grateful that they reached out, and now I got a bunch of really nice setups from Fitzgerald. So that's why I wanted to go over them real quick. But next up, this is probably one of my go-to setups right here, the 7/6 medium heavy. That's my all-time favorite length and action on the rod. The 7/6 medium heavy, you can do so much with that, but the 7/6 medium heavy Fitzgerald rod is incredible. I usually always set that up to throw jackhammer chatterbaits It's just, these rods are super sensitive and they have great backbone for setting the hook on those fish. And I just really enjoy throwing these rods. And this is one of my favorite setups. Like I said, the 7.6 medium heavy. I usually throw the chatterbait on here. I'll throw a jig, a football jig on here. And it's a great setup. But like I said, I'm just gonna quickly go over all these rods so you guys can see what setups I have. This is a 7.3 medium heavy. This is perfect for throwing little swim baits, crankbaits, spinner baits. I really like this setup, but what I use it for is throwing Great Lakes finesse underspins or swim baits. I've caught so many big smallmouth bass on this rod. I might as well hang it up because this rod has caught me some giants out on Lake St. Clair. I really like this setup. Like I said, all these rods are super sensitive. When you're creeping that swim bait along bottom, you can feel it ticking every single rock that's down there on bottom on Lake St. Clair. I really like this thing. I was actually throwing this a few days ago up in northern Michigan, and it was super rocky up there, and I could feel every single rock with this rod. Super sensitive. You can feel those very super light bites. And be ready to set the hook, be ready to hold on to the rod, because these rods are awesome, guys. But next up, I have another 7.8 extra heavy. I like to throw the frog on that rod just because it's super heavy duty. I was throwing this a few days ago on a local lake, just catching giants on this frog setup right here, the 7.8 extra heavy. Already covered that one, but I just wanted to show you another thing that I do with that rod. I also throw a lot of glide baits with that big rod as well. So next up is the 710 heavy composite rod, and this rod actually has the cork handle. It feels super nice. I actually need to take the plastic off that I haven't taken it off yet. But this rod is incredible. I was actually up in northern Wisconsin probably like 2-3 months ago. I took a trip up there to chase after some giant northern smallies in Wisconsin with my buddy Beatty Bassing and Christian. And let me tell you, we got out on the lake. I started throwing that crankbait right there on this crankbait rod, and I landed one of the biggest smallmouth bass of the trip. It was incredible. This rod is awesome, throwing deep diving crankbaits, and I've also been throwing that glide bait right there on this rod. I really like throwing this with the glide bait. It's awesome. It really handles those big fish really good, and it casts awesome. So pretty cool rod. Definitely recommend snagging one of those if you like crankbait fishing. But next up, I've really enjoyed throwing this rod over the last year. It's the Okeechobee rod, 7.6 heavy. And I've actually been throwing big swim baits on this rod. That's the Mega Bass Mag Draft, and I got the GS bait caster on there. I pretty much use all 7 reels. They're incredible reels. I've been using those for about a year now as well, and no problems with any of these rods or any of these reels. But I've been throwing those big swim baits lately on this rod, and pretty much all these rods are just super sensitive, guys. When you start to use some of these nicer quality rods, pretty much you can feel every little thing, small bites with them. When you're crawling that along bottom, you can feel pretty much all the weeds when you're pulling it through the weeds and everything. So great rod. Definitely recommend snagging one of those ones. But here's another one. This is the 7-foot medium heavy. I throw a lot of square bills or right there, that's the Thunderhawk. It's a silent trap, and I really like throwing that one right there. I've caught a ton of giant largemouth on this setup right here. It's incredible. And this is specifically made for throwing square bill crankbaits or lipless crankbaits. So, and I really like this one. It's just all around a really nice setup, guys. Just wanted to show you that one as well real quick. We got a couple more bait casters to show you. Here is actually a brand new one that they haven't even released yet to public. And it's the Stunner HD series, the brand new rods with the cork handles. It's got some chrome right here where you screw in the reel. I was actually using this a couple days ago up north, and I really liked this rod. It was the first time using the new rod, and I really liked it. This one's a little more bendier when you set the hook, I feel like, but it's definitely a really nice rod. It's the 7.6 medium heavy with the cork handle, and it's an awesome rod. And most of these rods, I don't know if you can see, have the F right there for Fitzgerald, and it says Stunner HD right there, if you guys can see that. But pretty cool. Definitely got a bunch of cool setups. Big shout out to Fitzgerald for hooking me up with all these cool setups to film videos with. But next up is the super finesse rod. It's the 6.9 medium Fitzgerald fishing rod. And I've never really thrown a ton of rods that are under 7 foot before I started using the Fitzgerald rods. And this 6.9, it felt crazy at first when I started throwing it, but I really have grown to like this setup. I usually throw a lot of drop shots on this, or a lot of those Great Lakes finesse lures. Like right there, I got a minnow style bait. Obviously, if you're following bass fishing, a lot of guys are throwing the finesse minnow baits right now with that ball jig head right there. And this setup is incredible. It's pretty flimsy, but it's just a great rod to throw a lot of those finesse baits with. I really like this setup. It's the Vursa, I think, the Vursa series 6.9 medium. And don't be scared to throw these little rods, guys. They're super fun. I really like this rod. But next up, we've got the drop shot rod, and I actually just started throwing this one this summer. It's the drop shot Ned Rig 7 foot medium, the Bryan Thrift series. And as you guys can see, I got that drop shot set up, the Great Lakes Finesse drop worm with that spear point hook on there. That's a great setup for smallmouth fishing, drop shot or largemouth. I've caught so many big fish on that right there. But this is probably my favorite setup for drop shot right now. I've got that 7 spinning reel. I think it's the G. I'm not sure what one this is. But this is a great reel, great rod setup. And it looks sharp in your hand. It's super comfortable, super sensitive. This rod is just incredible, guys. I've caught a ton of big fish on this out on Lake St. Clair. It's got that hook holder right there. But what I do, I usually will put my drop shot right there just to hold the drop shot weight. But pretty cool. I really like this setup. Next up is probably my favorite spinning rod. It's the 7.6 medium heavy. And you guys probably ask, why am I throwing the 7.6 in the spinning? And I just like those longer spinning rods. You can make longer casts. And that's just what I like, guys. That's, in my opinion, I really like the 7.6 medium heavy from Fitzgerald. It's a great spinning setup. And I just really like this rod, guys. I don't have any problems with it. I'm throwing that tube jig And you guys probably wonder why I have so many rods. A lot of people are always asking me that too. And I have specific rods for specific lures and specific techniques. So I'm always using this for throwing like finesse baits. I've actually thrown some top waters over the last year on this rod, some walking baits. That was pretty fun. And I've caught some big largemouth bass, big smallmouth bass on this setup right here. It's super comfortable in the hand, super sensitive rod. You can feel everything with these rods. I know I keep saying that, but I'm trying to preach it to you guys. These rods are incredible. But I really like this 7.6. I think I've got like 4 or 5 of these, and they're just all around great spinning rods. But next up, we've got the brand new spinning rod from Fitzgerald. I don't even think these ones are released yet. But like I said, this one's got the cork handle. It's the Stunner HD. If you guys can see that right there with the cork handle. And I'm actually throwing that minnow style bait right there because, like I said, I was up north a couple days ago fishing in super deep water. I think like 25 to 30 foot of water with that drop minnow from Great Lakes Finesse. And I actually caught a couple really nice smallmouth and a couple walleye with this setup right here. So that was pretty cool. But I really like this new rod. It's awesome. Pretty flimsy, but it's definitely got great backbone to set the hook into those big fish. But just wanted to quickly go over all these setups. I got a pile of rods right here. I gotta put them back in the boat. I guess I could go over one of these other rods real quick. I don't have a reel on it right now because I'm switching a bunch of my reels, but this is another 710, the ledge rod. And this is a great rod for flipping jigs on like drop-offs, on deeper weeds around docks. I really like flipping jigs with this setup right here. It's the 710 heavy, and I like using heavy rods a lot, throwing those bigger jigs like a Davy height mop jig out in deeper water. I was using this earlier this year on a cool series I did over in the Bryan Howell area. Caught a lot of big largemouth bass with this. So pretty cool setup. But those are a bunch of my Fitzgerald rods. I've got a couple more from the company, but I'll show you guys in another video. I really appreciate you guys watching today's video. Like I said, if you guys want to try any of these rods, you can actually use my code. I'll leave it on the screen right here. You guys can get 20% off any of these rods, and it would help support my channel, and that would be incredible, guys. I've also got some of my Extreme.Outdoorsmen hats for sale. If you want to order a hat, make sure to message me, and that would be awesome. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope all you guys are getting out on the lake, catching a bunch of big smallies, big largies, big northern pike, whatever you guys fish for. But hopefully you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully an open water video or on the water video. But we'll see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned.